Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our exclusive Global Leading Voices webinar campaign. We are delighted to have you join us here today. Please be informed that if you have any questions during the presentation, you may type them into the question box in your control panel. The presenter will answer your questions at the end of the presentation accordingly. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our presenter, who will begin shortly.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Etmir Yashare, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar, The Growing Demand of AI Certifications, Certified Artificial Intelligence Professional. We're excited to discuss this topic and be joined by our esteemed speakers, Mr. Peter Gielan and Alexandru Gheorghe. Before we get started, I'd like to inform the audience that this session is being recorded and will be posted on our website and YouTube channel along with the slides of the presentation. Furthermore, we encourage you to participate by submitting your questions at any time using the Q&A feature in the chat box. Now, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to hand it over to our first speaker, Alex.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, PECB, first for organizing the event, and thank you, Peter, here with me, and thank you, Jedmir. So my name is Alexandru Gheorghe. I am from Bucharest, Romania, and I am a data privacy consultant in business for 8 years. I'm a lawyer in business for 18 years in total, and I also cover cybersecurity from a regulatory point of view. So here I know what the law wants, and also I am trying to tackle the artificial intelligence subject also from a regulatory point of view. Thank you.
Yeah,
Peter?
and yes, some of you of the participants might have seen me before, working already quite a while also with PECB. Also an important part of my time as a PECB trainer. I'm more focusing on management systems, mainly on the information security, so the ISO 27001 and alike, including cloud and cybersecurity. And because of this implementation work I do, we get more and more questions on the use of artificial intelligence. So I have been certified also for the 42000, which is a interesting step up. I will join Alexandru actually in walking through actually the bit of the new content, and we give you a peek preview on a new course that PECB is going to launch. It's in publication or in draft mode, so we will give you a few highlights, and so you get a peek preview, and I can promise you it will be quite challenging. But first of all, I think Alexandru had a few of interesting points. So Alexandru, I think it's time to get started. So I will switch the slides. So keep yelling if I need to switch, and I will give you the introduction. There we go, right?
Yes, thank you. First of all, what I wanted to discuss with you is whether this is the right time to obtain a certification and what this certification would be. I received these questions a lot, and I thought maybe we should take a little bit a look on the work environment that we are having now, and I think we should start from this report. Maybe you've heard about it already from the World Economic Forum, was published last week. It is the Future of Work Report 2025. You have here the link as well, but you can also go to the World Economic Forum website. You would type in Future of Work Report 2025. This is valuable insight that you are going to find there. And you can see here that the technology-related roles are the fastest growing jobs, according to them, including big data specialists, fintech engineers, and AI machine learning specialists, and software and application developers. They are very much focused on the green and energy transition roles. So environment-related jobs, we are really looking at an increase in environmental engineers and renewable energy engineers. these are the top fastest growing roles. So if you want to take a look more at this domain, you should find some very interesting information there. But there are also some of the workers which are decreasing in interest. So clerical and secretarial workers, including cashiers and ticket clerks, administrative assistants, executive secretaries, are expected to see the largest decline in absolute numbers. Why we are taking a look at this? Because we are discussing about whether you should obtain an AI certification. You should. This is the right time to do it, but you should make sure that you know what you will combine this certification with, because you are going to gain some information, you are going to upskill, and you need to know how you should use this upskill in connection to something you already know. Or you should use this upskill maybe with a new option, a new position that you are tackling. Maybe something you should, if you are a lawyer, for example, you should obtain an artificial intelligence foundation certification, which you can then combine with some regulatory about environmental. So what the law requires in an environmental domain. Next slide, please. So the Future of Work 2025 delivers a concept which I found very interesting. Is there a skill instability? And they are looking at what happened, the trend of skills starting from 2020, where we had the pandemic and everybody went online, and there was a very increased sense of a very increased need of upskilling. People had this sense that they need to upskill, and you can see that the upskilling, people wished to upskill in 57%, and then it decreased up to 2023 to 44%. So the skill instability is slowing. We are looking at a more stable market in terms of skilling. Right now, 70% of the employers are expecting to hire staff with new skills, and also 50% of the employers are planning to transition staff from declining to growing roles. So this is also something that should be of interest. Next slide, please. What I also was interested to look around the globe at the main continents. What is the interest you can see in the world when it comes to AI certification and AI upskilling? Of course, in North America and Canada, we see that they are the champions when it comes to upskilling and training initiatives. And I've put here a link. Amazon delivers free artificial intelligence training program. If you want, you can start with this. It's a good foundation. In Europe also has seen a rise in AI educational offerings. Asia and Pacific, especially India and China, Microsoft really wants to invest, and they pledged $3 billion investment in India, aims to expand AI and cloud capacities there. Also, this is the case in Africa, in South Africa. Microsoft makes some big announcements there. And in Latin America, the trend is kind of slowing, but there is a very interesting report which I found from the UNESCO saying that the digital landscape, especially in higher education, they are looking to increase in Latin America. And I wanted to discuss a little bit about what about the lawyers, because the lawyers, in my opinion, they are a very interesting very interesting professionals, because they are not really welcoming change. So I think they should really change. They should really embrace technical regulatory aspects. They should really start thinking about AI. What is this? And this is because you clearly can see the trend that we are having more and more in the market. And now I get to the PECB training. I think to answer the question, which is the best training, I think PECB training is the best one for lawyers and for people who want to answer to the questions about how we should safely implement working with an artificial intelligence in a company. When we discuss about policy, when we discuss about the right way we should interact as an organization with an artificial intelligence platform, because this will be most of the cases, we will interact with the platform which is already there. What is the best way to do it? Well, because the PECB has this training which is based on a global standard, if you follow the standard, you can easily draft your own internal policy of how you should engage and interact with with an artificial intelligence. And in most of the cases, and this would be my final remark, in most of the cases, from what I've seen, the employees were just curious about starting to interact with AI in a work environment. There was not a company decision saying, "Hey, from today or from tomorrow, we are all going to use ChatGPT." No, it started with the employees, few employees that were basically curious, and because they were curious, so the company did not had this self-regulation first approach. The employees which were curious made mistakes. They were using company devices. They were starting to give in information, personal data, names of projects, confidential information to ChatGPT. This was not okay, and so this is why I think you should start from a regulatory basis like ISO. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Alexandru. Yeah, this was exactly the point. Also, the 42,000 ISO standard was recently published. So many people, yeah, got into the education or the training of that one. But yeah, it's mainly you and mine area, Alexandru. I think. Giving a lot of guidance how to implement best practices and what kind are the design principles and the good governance principles actually in the ISO standards, like perfectly as you mentioned it in this case. And that's exactly where we're going to make the difference with the new certification. So it works actually from the ISO 42000 with the general principles, but the next level of the course in the CAIP, and that's exactly what we're going to review today, is taking it from there and then see actually what kind of components on the technical level there are in artificial intelligence. Actually, we're going to dive under the hood of the engine of AI, and that's exactly a few things. What I will do is first of all walk through a few of the key slides of the course. Of course, there is still some work to do and before we get the actual publication of the course, but there will be quite some opportunities, Alexandru, then in the next few slides. Well, because as exactly you mentioned also during the introduction, there is an important part also of the course about handling data in an ethical way, to feeding the engines of AI, how to manipulate actually the behavior of the AI, and there are quite some important questions that I think is perfectly fit in your area of expertise, Alexander. So let me first of all walk through a few introduction slides to give a bit of a preview of the actual training, and then on a few slides I think we'll stop and still have a few discussions on a few items. I think you have quite some interesting insights. First of all, this is another level of course, and as mentioned already, the purpose is actually the CAIP is more the technical level into handling artificial intelligence, and it's a vast actually technical area that you need to cope with, and that's exactly what I want to uncover a bit in this presentation. You will see that there are various layers we need to take care of. Although that to 42,000 will touch them from a sort of governance perspective, now this course will deep dive a bit actually on the practical implementations, and the purpose also of the course is to make you think is how should you do it, is what's the impact of that one, and so on. So in essence, the purpose here is, first of all, slightly different. As an AI 42,000 lead implementer, we're going to think about data analysis, system development. Very important part, which is also very common with the 42,000 lead implementer, of course, is doing risk management. And also strategic alignment is using the tools in major benefit of the companies and maximizing business impact, as mentioned here. But you pointed it out already, also an important part of the course will consider how to use ethical AI deployment. Please also be aware that also from a legislative perspective, lots of regions, and including Europe, is looking into with big scare or big surprise about what actually will happen with artificial intelligence. And just a few days ago, we had already quite some news. For example, with DeepSeek, I think these ground shifting activities and few of the surprises are still to come. Just a quick one. We start off actually the course exactly from the collection of standards of the 42,000. Just be clear that the 42,000 is the artificial intelligence management system. So how to properly use artificial intelligence in practice, but please be aware that the 42,001 is enriched with a set of other standards. So there are even risk management principles or technology and concepts, and as similar to the 2701, there is also an audit requirement for the management system, which is the 4206. Please be aware that also from other technical standards, there's some help from the NIST. So there is an AI risk management and an AI Act, and also, of course, from the regulatory framework from the EU, we have the AI Act over here. The combination of the AI 42,000 and with the practical implementation should give you a bit of view how to implement AI if you start building applications or platforms using AI. The CAIP will be your guide and do it securely. In essence, the difference with the 42,000 lead implementer versus the certified professional is that actually you deep dive in the AI engine, so you're actually the man in the machine itself, and you need to know a bit more about AI and data principles. We will quickly walk through a few items, and also the course will touch, for example, in machine learning and deep learning, and then we'll provide also some advanced techniques, neuro-linguistic programming and computer vision, which is of course very popular, one of the main interesting tools in AI. And then of course to link to the 42,000, think about strategy and governance, risk and compliance. Let's go into a few slides and from the course, and one of the core slides actually is the whole package of information that you should have a look at. It starts off with the core of all things that start with AI is big data. So you need to collect data to feed the engines, and then based on the infrastructure neural networks, engines will start deep learning. We will discuss the deep learning and the machine learning principles, and then of course upgrading the systems, putting all things together into an artificial intelligence platform. We will then take from a global perspective a bit of discussions and to discuss the AI systems, and some of them might be already known. It's the narrow AI, the general AI, and the strong AI. So the expert systems and so on. You know. So the division in the machines, what are kind of the functionalities we will talk, and based on the onion image we had previously, we will actually to do so. Also, yeah, we'll see a quick evolvement in AI, and we don't know where it gets, right? So we have reactive machines, limited memory, theory of mind, and self-aware AI, which is the ultimate AI setup we will look at, and some people have some of these futuristic films in mind here, but it's moving very fast, and we don't know where it goes. So sometimes we have some surprise in new product launches. So it's quite a challenging world, and we try to give you a bit of a background in where we go to, and at least to help understand what these technical AI engines can do. Then, yeah, to become really yeah, aware on what are the different systems are, we are going to, of course, use a sort of standard or implementation steps we're going to do. So we're going to design, actually look into the different steps, which is also based on the 22000 series you see over here. What are the typical life cycle models? It will become, of course, highly complex, and so we try to unravel a bit the different parts of the engine and the way that we are going to develop the AI systems, and very likely in the near future will one way or another be faced actually with these kind of models in many ways. As what Alexandru also explained, it's quite important that you still maintain fair principles also for AI. So the accountability, for example, is an important one. Reliability and safety and security is a main topic all over the place. So how to make sure actually that the AI tools and platforms we use can still keep people safe, that there's an ongoing discussion in how far these machines can get independent, can make have an opinion on their own. I think Alexandru, you have a very strong opinion then, and then I think actually in this case we will come back to the ethical discussions a few slides further on in this case. So yeah, it will give you an overview of these situations. One of the essential things is also consider AI and who is involved into it. Again, in most of the management systems, we need to know the stakeholders, how to talk to them, how to take care of them. They all have expectations. And on the right-hand side, exactly as what Alexandru also mentioned, you will still have a very strong driver also for regulations. I don't know how far the current pace of legislations will be able to follow up actually with the fast pace of artificial intelligence. I think, as usual, fast-moving technology will be a main challenge for regulations to catch up, so they are always running behind on lots of these smart things that popping up. On the other hand, I fear we need to have a bit more incidents and accidents before the legislation is catching up on a few things. This is the main principle as what we have seen, for example, also in data protection and cybersecurity. So this is a new wave, I think, for the next generation to watch and to maintain in many cases. And the purpose of the course is, of course, to give you a decent technical background to understand exactly what is happening.
May I step in a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead, Alexandru.
Can you go back to the
Yes.
previous slides? Yes, this one. So you were talking about regulations. So I was thinking about this. For sure, everybody knows right now that the US has a very big problem with the excess of regulation which happens in Europe. You hear Trump say all the time, Europe doesn't treat us well. There is this excess of regulation that blocks our initiatives, blocks innovation, and even Europe is struggling with their overregulation and the fact that they fragmented different markets because of overregulation. Now, Artificial Intelligence Act took 6 years. It took 6 years to actually adopt. Of course, we had 2 years of pandemic, and in the years of pandemic, the legislators didn't focus on what's happening with the AI, how the AI is trained using personal data of people, of companies. So nobody took a look, nobody focused on that. They were too busy focusing on managing the pandemic. So this is when artificial intelligence people and the developers, they just went crazy. Oh, this is the right time for us to train our models. Nobody looks. The legislators, they are not interested. They have the pandemic to deal with. Now, there is the same kind of moment because the US points out that in the US, the law is going to go from overregulation to deregulation. So there will be less emphasis in regulatory. This means that it's free for business in AI training, free for business in going ballistic, going wild west with data. So this is exactly where companies should self-regulate. This is where companies should pay attention. This is when companies should actually engage with their employees, and they should pay more attention when it comes to what kind of data to use. Now, of course, we have DeepSeek that brought very interesting questions for all of us. It can be done with less data, less time, and less money. This is great, which is going to add up to the speed. So,
but Alexander, this doesn't take away the ethical component.
The ethical component.
Yeah.
And now let me comment just one thing about the ethical component. In companies, in organizations, there is a code of ethics. In most of the cases in big organizations, the ones which are part of a group, you will find an ethics policy. If you go through the ethics policy, you will see that the ethics policy means company values, but ethics is not that. Ethics, it's a component of philosophy. It's not a component of the regulatory. The lawyers don't know ethics. Philosophers know ethics. And how many lawyers you know tackling a philosophy training, excessive training, to understand what ethics is and how to tackle a subject from an ethical point of view? For the first time in decades, I found the ethics concept, which is cool again. In the concept of AI, in the context of AI, we talk about ethics again. So pay very much attention which ethical standards you take, and I think the most relevant one is also offered by UNESCO. They offer a standard which is still a standard used for ethics of AI, for ethics principles of AI in most of the organizations that really want to tackle ethics and artificial intelligence from a regulatory point of view.
Interesting. So it will be in continuous challenge in that sense. Yeah, and this is a perfect link actually also to go on actually and to discover and knowing the engine and how it works. So, and this is exactly one of the views you will see. We will come back to the ethics part of that one, which will be a main topic at the end of the CAIP in many cases. One of the first things, and remember, we had the diagram on the implementation of the different layers actually of AI. Is first of all, and this is always for quite a while, a very difficult discussions is how to feed the AI engines. And please be aware that there's a lot of technical components behind it, even making sure that AI engines use the correct engine. So data analytics and data analytics studies are quite important to get a trustworthy implementations. I want to quickly run through a few things, and the topics that will be discussed in the course is also guaranteeing quality full data, actually to make sure that the AI engine is working with the proper data, and including the essential tools for data analysis. I had a quite bizarre situation actually just 6 to 9 months ago. One of my daughters actually studying on mathematics also on the university, and at a certain evening she was bashing around actually on her desk fighting with Python, and she had apparently had an exercise to do on analyzing big data with Python. So I dived with her actually into the situation. So I had a sort of flashback when I was reading through this information. But she also mentioned to me, and I will show you in a few slides, actually the course was actually a course material of the 1980s. So I was quite surprised that she was calling it AI and data analytics. And when I saw this course, it's very clear that there are quite some best practices, mathematical principles in data quality, data management, and which actually are the basis of the artificial intelligence. And this is also what the course will explain, what kind of functionalities you need to make sure. And again, as we mentioned, feeding data to artificial intelligence in a proper way, and also make sure that the system can behave correctly in using the data. So one of the essential parts is, of course, making sure that the proper data ends up the system. So data cleaning and statistics on the data will become quite important to stabilize the systems and to conclude with correct statistics and conclusions and AI interactions into this data. And one of the next modules in this course is, of course, then in the next step is data science and machine learning. Machine learning has been there already for quite a while, but the very strong combination of data science and actually big data is now actually reinforcing and making AI very powerful in many cases. So I had a flashback a few months ago, if I see this slide, that AI and actually machine learning is not a new thing. Some people think that AI is just a few years old, but the basic components that we need actually to make AI work is already there for quite a while. In the early days actually of computer science, it does already exist. On the other hand, there's some new stuff that you will learn also in the course, is that we are shifting actually from the traditional if-then-else programming in a more fluent machine learning, and certainly, for example, using Python and the mechanisms, the auto calculations and the logical processes changed completely by using these machine learning and the artificial intelligence approaching. So there's a lot of statistical approach also in here, which makes it quite complex. So I can promise you it will be quite interesting actually to see how the course handles the basic principles. From this machine learning, then we will actually move over to the typical things, what we already know from ChatGPT and the language models. So we will discuss actually the various functions in AI, how they build actually on these models and the training, and also which is quite an interesting topic also, if you see on the governance and the ethical discussions, is how the machine learning actually is sourcing the artificial intelligence. Because, for example, if you are feeding the artificial intelligence with raw data, it's biased. So meaning if we are using historical data, it's human data. It's not always ideal, and it's quite a challenge to make sure that the AI system is handling it correctly. And this is also one of the things that you should consider in building AI systems. Is, do you want to have different types of systems, supervised, semi-supervised, and, for example, reinforcement learning is quite important model actually to make sure that you get, depending the situation, make proper use of the engines. And then, yeah, I couldn't have planned it better, but literally it is a module also in the course is deep learning, and exactly what Alexandru also explained. So I think the perfect explanation we got, at least it's a bit ground shifting on the financial and the global part, and also from a political part, apparently, as we have seen in news. Is how deep learning is then actually being reinforcing actually the use of the big data, the machine learning, the neural network. So linking everything together on a few things. Another part which most of you already have tried at least to do to use are the language modeling, and then the course will of course actually analyze a bit how the chat GPTs of this world actually have been set up, and a few things. What are the consequences with the use of the data? Using that setup and so on. I don't know if you have seen it, but we have seen quite some powerful platforms right now where you record a video in any language, and you can literally transform the entire video, even with speech and following up actually your mouth movements to fluently speak any other language, including Russians or Romanian languages, while you are even not capable to pronounce one single word. So this is the link actually in many cases. And then I think it's getting interesting because what Alexandru also mentioned, the ethical approach and the bias and the fairness actually and the systems, which is one of the main issues in artificial intelligence, is that we are feeding human data into the system, which is not perfect at all. And we all have some bias actually in the situation when making decisions. What is quite bizarre is that if we build these technical systems, that they show exactly the same issue as kind of human behavior, but that does not define artificial intelligence yet. But yeah, we need to fight and we need to discuss actually these bias and fairness considerations in these language models. And then, of course, the course will take quite some time to discuss the language models. And last but not least, also a very important one is the ethics discussions. First of all, in the ethical discussions, again, and the fairness and the accountability and the human-centric approach is one of the fair things, and exactly as what Alexandru explained, the legislative part in that sense is not following. So we're giving you a bit more technical impact in technical hindsight actually in these things, how you should design the systems from a technical point of view. And we will discover also what you should do. And you should not cause harm is a very difficult discussions, because also for developing new technologies like these humanoid robots and so on, lots of these companies earlier on said we're going not to build war robots, and still some of the other companies used the technology then and to bring the technology to the next level. What we can expect with the new development of AI, that this principle of non-maleficence, I'm not sure if it will stand for a long time. Alexander, what do you think? I mean, are we going to use artificial intelligence for the next cyber war, or what's your view on that one?
Yeah, do you remember, I don't know, there was this, you can find it online on YouTube. There is an interview which Sam Altman did in the 2020s, 2022. No, in 2023, he gave this interview on CNBC. I think you will find it on CNBC. He was asked, so he did a tour. He went in several countries, allowing people to ask him questions about AI. The initiative was very nice, so I like this kind of transparency and openness. And he was so transparent that he was asked, should we trust you? And he said, no, you shouldn't. Wait. Are you saying we should not trust OpenAI. And he said he paused, he realized that this was not the best answer to give, and he needs to bring context, and he needs to bring context fast. And he says, no, I mean, you should trust OpenAI, but you should not take the artificial intelligence for granted. You should not just fully trust whatever artificial intelligence gives you. So what he wanted to say is that you should be able to control the result. And this is the best way of handling bias of these systems responsibly, to control the result. And a few months after he gave this interview, he was sacked, and then he was brought back into the board, but he was kicked out of the board. And the main reason the board used for kicking out Sam Altman was that he did not communicate very, very clearly what was the intentions of the company. In my opinion, I think this was the thing that they referred to. The fact that he said, no, you shouldn't trust us. This was very interesting, because you see this shift in the people which are behind the artificial intelligence systems that are being more and more outsourced right now. So I think from an ethical point of view, you should make sure you have you have your own ethical standard, deriving from an ethical basis which is commonly in common practice known as the standard, like it is the UNESCO, or as we had here some slides which are provided here in the training of PECB as well. I think from this set of standard, if you apply this and you improvise some of your own ethical points which interest your company, yourself, I think this is the best way to handle ethics. But do not fully trust, as Sam Altman points out, the artificial intelligence and what's behind.
Well, yeah, this ethical driver is also discussed a bit more in detail, because then later on the course will try to balance actually all these ethical principles in the setup, and also the course obviously will dive into the decision matrices actually that AI is using. So then we will talk a few things later on, and of course here you will see the direct link also of the AI governance and strategy implementations, actually to discuss the impact and the problems we might have also for the informations. Yeah, it's an advanced mode over the 42,000, a bit more in details. Still, you should consider yourself, if you follow the course, as sort of master architect with the technical explanations and combining your knowledge you have, and also the different strategies that you should do. So you can consider or expect actually to have 4 days of full packed technical informations, and linking into the regulatory requirements and also the requirements of the AI Act in the implementations. So that's quite important to understand, that we're going to deep dive a few things. Plus, of course, linking into risk management, and then we will come back to the discussions what you see over here, which is quite important in many of the technical implementations, also to consider and to evaluate actually what can happen if it goes wrong, how you should safely and securely design the principles. So it will be quite important to do some risk management and to follow up. So you see that actually the course is using the 42,000 as a sort of jumping point to go more into details for the implementations. What you will see further on, and of course, the structure of the course might change, as what you see here is a peek preview of an item, of a few items. We will also make decisions on the matrices, on how the technical setups are working, what to do with the data. Yeah, you can promise actually that you will see that that this, as what Alexandru also mentioned, I think this is the next level of courses. I've been looking around a bit to other courses, but this one is really going to the next level. So the timing is, I think, perfect if you want to jump into the more technical part of AI, knowing what to do and doing proper discussions with your company or with customers. I think it will be a quite interesting view, although we don't know actually what AI will bring. Good. This brings us more or less to quarter to the hour. Jadmir, you were following up a bit on the questions. Can you show us a few things, or what is the main question we get from the chat?
Yeah, there has been a lot of questions from the chat, and they cover a variety of areas. I will start with the first one. What are the key differences between various of AI certifications available today? And also, how should professionals choose the right one for their career goals?
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead, Alexandru.
I want a very good question, and I want to point out that the training should be followed by an exam and should be followed by a certification which is worldwide known or which is pretty much known. So the certification body should be should be notorious, and the certification should include an exam because it provides credibility. I think this should be when you guide yourself into choosing a certain certification, this is something you should look at. Also, what I like about the PECB training system is that you are obliged, you must make sure that you revisit every once in a while your certification. So you have to provide AMF, you have to provide indication of the fact that you are working with it, you are working in that domain, so you have the possibility to maintain and keep your certificate. This is also something that works for me. Thank you.
Yeah, and another thing, what you see right now, there are very few technical courses except for some vendors. So in this case, this is a next level deep dive technical course going into literally also some practices, hands-on experiences, experiencing not only just do some chat prompting but actually manipulating the system using the AI technique. So this is mainly different from, first of all, the 42,000, which is entirely based, as what Alexandru explained, on the ISO standard. You will see quite some governance courses, which is from a managerial or from an implementer or an architectural point of view, very nice to see what compliance and what the requirements background is, but the 42,000 doesn't deep dive in manipulating the engine, building the data sources, getting trustworthy data, and see how the system reacts, or what are the consequences, for example, if you feed untrusted data or non-clean data actually to the system. That's exactly what the CAIP in this case goes for. So except for the typical course requirements, I also support, as what Alexandru mentioned, is also making a distinction between, do you want a technical course, implementation course, or do you want a compliance course in many cases. Yeah, this is in this case the CAIP is going really deep dive technical, hardcore 4-day in 2 platforms, including hands-on experiences. To add on also to what Alexandru said on the typical requirements of the courses, having the trustworthy sources. Also for the certification, it's quite important that you maintain the certification and that you also prove your experiences. So this is a very strong method to prove the value of the certification. So next to the trustworthy organizations, maintaining the certificate and the exam, I think is very important, to maintain your certifications and with the relevant experiences. Good. I think yeah, go ahead, Alexander.
I want to also make a small remark, but you should at some point stop, because I see this tendency, because there are a lot of trainings which appear on the market right now. Some of them are free of charge, and I think they are very good because they are offered by the companies which also develop some strong AI platforms. For example, Google offers a lot of trainings. Of course, they invite you to interact with their own artificial intelligence systems, but they also explain a lot the concepts, and I think helps a lot. It helps a lot for because I think you should first start with understanding the language. What is deep dive? What is deep mind? What is artificial intelligence? What is an agent? Why do we call it an agent? Yeah, it does something for us. So you should make sure that you basically assimilate the language. But you should at some point stop with all this certification and actually interact with these platforms. Get to know about the platforms, get to know more about who is developing the platforms, and read terms and conditions. It's also a great source to understand the language, read the law, read Artificial Intelligence Act, and read other legal initiatives which are out there. It also serves as a very good information about what artificial intelligence is and how you should approach the interaction with the system. But don't be the eternal student, right? You have 20 certifications and you show all these certifications on LinkedIn, and everybody who scrolls on your certifications just goes through half of the day just reading through your certifications. But looking to people's certifications is also a great way of seeing what certifications are available and what certifications people are following, are taking, are obtaining. Some of them you should choose and you should do.
Good. Any other questions, Jadmir?
Yes, plenty of them. So another question says, as GRC risk officer, how will AI impact our daily activities? Also, how to take advantage of AI to progress in this domain?
Well, I think first of all, there are two parts. Is looking at AI as a platform, using data, using principles. So I think you certainly should have an opinion from the GRC level in what AI does, and certainly from an architect or a GRC specialist, you should be able to advise at least your management team, CEO level companies, and so on, into what exactly what Alexandru also explained, into what level AI is fit for certain actions. On the other hand, I think using the AI to make your life easy is absolutely a smart thing to do, but I think again, I think Alexandru made a very important remark, is to be critical in this situation. So you can perfectly use AI and ChatGPT and language models to automate a lot of things, but please be aware that there might be some faults in the system implementations. It's not always 100% trustworthy. So if you jump into it, and as Alexandru mentioned, start using it, just be critical and don't always believe, cross-check a few things to make its system better, and that's exactly also one of the principles that's explained also in the CAIP course, to look into the technology, improve the technology, and be critical in a few things. And I think that certainly the next few weeks, if not months, we will discover new technologies that might be very smart and help a lot. But always, yeah, have a background on it. Know what the system is doing, where the information is coming from, and I think as a GRC specialist, you should be very critical using it with a healthy mind, and in many cases to do so. So it can be a very helpful tool, but be critical.
I want to say you've made a very interesting remark, knowing about new technologies. So you should, I think, get yourself involved in the discussions around AI and the risks that AI poses for different types of organizations. And in my opinion, every new version of the same AI, it's a new technology. So I think as a GRC, you should approach it all the time from a risk base, but also mind where you work as an organization. What is your activity? What activity you represent? For example, if you are in a healthcare domain and you are working with medical devices, and there is an emphasis, a growing emphasis of bringing AI in connection to medical devices, and you are trying to tackle the use of AI from a regulatory point of view, well, you should start from the Artificial Intelligence Act that says that automatically all medical devices that have AI, they are directly considered high risk. So the Artificial Intelligence Act offers a 4-level risk basis. So I think it offers a great diagram for a risk approach when it comes to using AI. So use that. Thank you.
I think we have a few more minutes left. Jadmir, one other question?
Yeah, we'll take as many as we can. Another one says, are there a minimum certifications such as ISO 27001 lead implementer and lead auditor before you should go for any of the new ones? Example, AI. Does the market differentiate, or is it a buzzword battle only?
Well, in this case, certainly for let me first of all answer the question for the certified professional. No, there's no condition this one, although that some technical background and some infrastructure background on databases and network security and programming languages will certainly help. But certainly, for example, for the 42,000, no, there is no absolutely mandatory pre-study to do, although that if you have some pre-knowledge, for example, with the 27,2000, so information security, it's a vast benefit to do so, to know a bit about the different implementations. And for the simple reason is that the structure, and I showed you also during the presentation, is even the substandards or linked around the ISO 42000 is pretty similar to what the 27,2000 is doing. So is it absolutely mandatory to get started with the 27,000? No. Is it helpful? Yes, absolutely. Risk management is an important part of the course. It will pop up back actually also in the AI professional course. So I think it's a smart move, and to split up the learning a bit and to go into smaller steps and to ramp up from the 27,000 and the 42,000 might be an interesting step. Is it absolutely mandatory? No, but yeah, it reinforces actually your understanding and into a few things, and the 27,2000 can be extended with the 27002 with more technical controls. But on the other hand, if you have some background information, like for example in the NIST documentation, CSF or the SIS controls, a bit more technical background might be certainly worth, and will actually make your learning experience a bit more nice and handy actually to do so. But is it an absolutely a mandatory step up? No.
Can we also go back to slide number 2? Can we slide number 5? Can we show the slides
I
again,
will
please?
restart the presentation, Alexandru. Give me a second. You wanted to mention something, right? So let me start up and share again. Give me a second.
Sorry for putting you on the spot with the presentation.
There's no problem. So
what it was the slide about the skill instability. So what we showed there is that 39% of the skill set of workers will be transferred or become outdated over the 2030 period. So we know that in the next 5 years, you have it here, in the next 5 years, the skill set of workers will, the actual skill of workers will be outdated, and there will be a necessity for new skills. This is related to technology, to artificial intelligence, and how you can combine it with something you already know. What we also know is that 70% of the employers right now are expecting to hire staff with new skills. So you have to show the new skills. Please understand that in artificial intelligence, nobody is an expert. There are no experts on the market. The first ChatGPT was open sourced in 2022 in November, ChatGPT, right? There are no experts. The law, the first legislative initiative in the world started in Europe, and it's very new. Yes, only last year it was adopted. So we have 2 years to look forward for this law to be discussed about, to be implemented. There are no experts. Everybody is at the same baseline right now. So this is the best time to start thinking about the certifications and talking about it. But it's not a buzzword. It's not just a buzzword. I think it's something that should preoccupy us, and it will preoccupy us in the future.
And I think I have to add on the feedback of Alexandru. It's a perfect timing for having some technical courses and to enrich yourself, at least that you know what you're doing. So you can know and actually follow the fast trends on a few things. So again, perfect timing to get more technical in a few things. On top of a more high-level architecture course, what this is, you can then, of course, as what Alexandru also mentioned, get the experience in the practical tools by the different vendors, and what Alexandru also mentioned, next to Google and other vendors like Microsoft are offering more technical course on AI. It's a perfect match what you can do here, and you know the basic architecture principles combined with the hands-on experience. So it's a perfect time actually to jump in and to be the first in the row actually to follow what is happening on a technical level. But again, this is the major difference between the 42,000 lead implementer and this course. This is going to hardcore technical stuff.
If you haven't got the experience of a PECB training and exam so far, I'm gonna tell you that you cannot pass the exam unless you study. So for sure, attending the classroom, it's very important, because I think it puts you in the room with people who are trying to tackle the same subject, and they come from different backgrounds. And so you can learn a lot by this information, which is commonly shared there. So you also have this possibility to go over the entire training, entire course once with the trainer, and then you are getting an exam. But in my experience so far, you have to learn for it. So for sure, there is no shorter way of obtaining the certification from PECB unless you really study. So I also shared this experience that you need to study. So it's a serious stuff.
Thank you, Alex and Peter, for delivering this highly informative webinar. Unfortunately, we do not have time to take any further questions, but all of the questions will be posted on our Insights magazine, next issue of the Insights magazine, so make sure to subscribe to that. And also, don't forget, the CAIP training course will be soon published, and stay tuned. Follow our social media and you will be notified accordingly. And also this session has been recorded and will be posted on our website and YouTube channel along with the slides of the presentation. Thank you all for being a part of this.
Thank you, PECB. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jetmir. Thank you, all the participants.